Dad essentially went into the military at 17, and we lived on military bases. We grew up what I would say is poor. My mom disagrees with that. We did not go without. I wasn't starving. I was very loved, definitely. But if we're honest, and if we look at the reality of things, we were poor. So 4 boys, military, young family. We weren't starving, but we weren't wealthy, right?
Getting by, yeah.
We were barely getting by. We weren't middle class, right? Yeah. So I remember.
And that's weird because, not weird, but in that situation, your housing is taken care of.
Maybe if you live on base. We lived in Germany, so yeah, we lived on base. I agree.
So there's a lot
but take the military pay. My dad didn't go in the military as an officer. He went in the military as a 17-year-old.
Right.
Right.
With a family?
Eventually having a family. I'm the oldest, but so 4 boys, mother that's raising the children on military pay, and you can go back and look at what it was.
Pretty low, probably.
Yeah, and even look at it today at entry level. I'm talking about infantry level, right? Entry level military with no education. Even walking in today, it's if you compare that to the national average income, it's below, right? Mm-hmm. And then you go, well, you're getting housing or a housing allowance, but that's a net zero, right? So if you want to live off base, right? If you live on base, you don't get the allowance, so you live for free, right? No. If you live off base, they're giving you the difference in pay, but you have to use it for rent,
right?
And because you're traveling with the military, most of them, especially at that point, are not able to buy homes. So you can't invest the money. So literally it's a loss. It's a complete loss, and rent's not write-off. So it doesn't affect your taxable income. So like you start looking at all these series of decisions that get made for you, and I would say, well, I do think there's a way to go into the military and over a long period of time do very well, especially if you go in as an officer, if you get a degree.
Right.
But I don't think it's the same opportunity as if you were to take that same energy and go a different route. So if you're passionate to serve the country, that's a whole different thing, right? But I say we were poor because off the money that we had, there were many. My mom went years without buying clothes. Mm-hmm. Like all the money went to the kids. Like
right.
I remember my mom's taking the metal out of her bra, the wire, and still using it to wear for a long period of time and not buying us stuff. But we were growing so quickly, we were always buying clothes, right? So, like, I remember her making sacrifices as a young kid. I remember being, at a mall we were walking through, and I wanted to go to the arcade, and we didn't have the money to play. So, like, when I say we didn't have money, we didn't have extra money, right? We weren't starving.
Yeah, it's not an insult to anybody.
Yeah, no.
It's just the fact of the matter, right?
Yeah, it's not. I'm definitely not. I'm not dogging it.
Yeah.
We were well taken care of. My mom went without.
Yeah.
Right.
And I'm not going to say my dad didn't go without. I'm sure he did too.
And that's the thing that you look at and you're like, it needs to be better than that.
Yeah. So they said I remember the first house that this resonated with me was on Legend Drive in Ashburn, North Carolina, and previous to that was Spink Street. And I remember we were renting this house, and I remember my dad. They went from the Spink Street house, which was 4 walls. And we were renting that, and we went to this house on Legend Drive, and I remember them talking about it. It was a 3-bedroom, 2-bath. And I remember there's my mom, my dad, 4 kids, right? 3-bedroom, 2-bath. It was large. We were going to have all this space. And I remember my dad talking about it, and I remember making a comment like, when I get older, I'm going to own a house this. And my dad said something like, to own a home like this is a great thing. You should be happy if you ever even can attain that. So some version of that, right? And he basically kind of put me in a box like, hey, this should be your goal, right? And if you could ever accomplish this, it's really difficult. If you ever accomplish this, great. And then I'll tell you, so my dad went through this kind of awakening where he worked in the military, but then after he got out, that was his day job. He was trying to be an entrepreneur. He's learning to become an entrepreneur, and he's self-taught, right? And he failed over and over and over and over and over again, and eventually did very well. But I had the benefit of growing up without that, right? And I got dragged to all these Metaluca and Sportstron and Amway and all these different meetings where he was now. And
I remember Amway. My parents did that too.
Yeah. But I'll tell you,
yeah,
he learned a lot because let me tell you what it does is there's a lot of education there, and a lot of the stuff that they're teaching. I'm not talking about the product that they're peddling. I'm talking about the information that they're teaching. A lot of that stuff's right on point.
And it carries over and translates into other ways, yeah.
So, and I'm not
Plus
dogging.
Plus, they save money, like when they would wash my mouth out with soap.
Yeah, there you go.
It was cheaper.
They'd get a
Save money on
commission.
They get a commission off of it. But it taught salesmanship. How about rainbow vacuums? You know, I thought, what a scam, right? But guess what? You're teaching salesmanship, and people, if you perceive value in something, and I can sell it to you for $2,000, right? And you perceive a value in it, and I'm selling it for that price, and you agree to pay it. Well, then that is what it is, right? I don't perceive a value in it, so I didn't buy one. But that's the thing. So the first time I ever felt a sense of accomplishment, I think all the little things that I didn't really do it. It was the first time that I did something that my mother and father were kind of like, wow, right? Like
That was when you moved into the garage?
no.
So
that time that sucked.
What was that?
That was I told you so.
What was that? So what was that moment where they had that look?
I think it was. I bought my first duplex when I was 18.
Was that the accomplishment?
I think so, because I bought it. My deal was I worked part-time at RBC Centura. Richard Brooks and Mike King were Mike King was a branch manager. Richard Brooks was the commercial banker. It was their duplex. But I bought it. And there was a thing with Countrywide, a big reason why Countrywide had the problems they had. But basically, if you were full-time employed for at least 6 months and had a pulse, you know, you could get a loan. And so at 18, I bought a duplex, and I qualified based on the very limited underwriting. And my plan was to rent one side and live in the other. And it just so happened that the tenant upstairs was moving out, so I moved in upstairs, and I moved in with a tenant, and the tenant downstairs paid the nut. So literally, I lived for free. Right, so my very first duplex, I think, kind of did that because, it was a 2-bedroom, 2-bath, top and bottom, so 4 bedrooms, 4 baths, and I had a tenant, and I was in business. I was a landlord at 18 years old, and I think my parents were surprised. Like, they were like, I think they were proud, but they were like, I don't think that I was talking about doing it, but I don't think that, and they knew I was very entrepreneurial way prior to that, but I don't think it really set in.
And they're like, son, you got all these condoms.
Yeah, right.
In your life.
What are you doing?
You're like, I'm business.
Yeah, I'm business is good, Dad.
Yeah.
But then when I bought the second house, I moved out of the top of the duplex. I rented it out. Now it became a cash flowing property, right? I bought the second house, and my now wife, but Jessica, I had a rule: we didn't hang things. We didn't have internet. We didn't have TV. I didn't want to spend the money. I didn't want to hang something because that was a nail hole that we'd have to fix. Right, so we were living there, but that's all we were doing. We were literally it was just a place to live. It was a mattress on the floor. I didn't decorate it. We didn't have. Why would you waste money on that? Stupid. We're in the early part of our life. This is not.
Right.
This is not enjoying it. We're grinding. Right. I just need a place to lay my head.
Yeah, you need shelter, not a nest.
Exactly. Right. So you don't go in and start nesting. Which I'll tell you, everybody else they nest. I didn't. Right. I'm not using that money because I'm saving the money for the next down payment. Right. Or I'm saving that money to rehab this house that I'm in. And then the plan is that I'm going to go buy another one. I'm going to rent this one out, right? And I did that, and I moved her 9 or 10 times before I bought our first home on Lake Norman.